Hey everybody, this is Michelle.
And this is Julie.
Welcome to A Blonde, a Brunette, and a Mic podcast. What is our podcast all about, you ask?
Well, we're two 50-something women with life experience and, plenty to say.
Which is exactly what we're going to do right now.
Hey, Michelle.
Hey, Jules.
If I tell you a secret, do you promise not to tell anybody else?
That's a tough one, because it depends on what the situation is. Don't you think?
Yeah, I do. But you know what's so funny? How many times have you said that to somebody?
I know.
And it never stays in one place.
True.
Never
true.
Stays in one place.
Secrets
And lies.
Where did that come from? I wonder.
I think people harbor secrets. They harbor things that they want to keep private for a lot of different reasons. I mean, there's several that come to mind, but one is judgment. They don't want to be judged. Mm-hmm. Maybe they feel ashamed about something.
Yeah.
You know, or and we're not going to get into details on family secrets of our own because that would be detrimental.
Yeah.
But we are going to get it. We don't have any. I guess there are some out there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Family secrets of our own. But there are so many. And I want to say that family secrets seem to be like the most salacious of all time. I mean, they're the ones that...
Wait. That's a big word.
Scandalous.
Oh, okay. Salacious. I feel like I always learn a new word from you.
You're so funny.
Is it salacious? Okay.
Yeah, they seem to be more, I don't know, hidden. I mean, you hear about stuff like that all the time with families going back generations and things that had taken place, or it becomes folklore, you know, things that had happened in families, like history and past. You hear about now, like I've heard so many things now as a grown adult about my mom's childhood and about the things that she never told us about, you know, when we were younger. And it's funny because she even still looks at me like I'm a kid. So she's telling me now that I'm not a kid anymore. And I'm like, dude, I've not been a kid for a really long time. But there was for example, one of my relatives had written this scandalous book, and the scandalous book, apparently, you know, nobody knew about it until it was published. And then someone else happened to run into it at a street fair where they were selling it. And so I was not allowed to look at this book. I wasn't allowed to see the book.
Was it salacious? I just want to use the word. Was it salacious because of family drama and family secrets?
Yeah.
Okay.
That had never been shared. You know, there were a lot of family secrets. So, of course, what do? Get my hands on the book.
Right.
And read it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very well written. I mean, it was actually very poorly written, but it was, you know, it was very scandalous. There were portions of it and created a lot of family drama and hurt feelings.
I'm sure.
Dissent. Yeah, it did. And to this day, I would say it has even carried on. I mean, it's not like people have forgotten about it. I don't hold any ill will towards anybody in the book because, you know, they're all people that were from the past that a lot of them I don't even know, or it was before I was born. But that was something that, as an example, had happened, you know, in our family. There's lots of other things too. You think about friendships and stuff.
Yeah, no, really quick, back to that. Is it anything? So of course you weren't allowed to read the book, or you were told not to. And of course you did. Is it anything? So here we go. Is it anything that was ever discussed?
No, God, no. No.
You, like, does your mom even know that you read it or anything like that?
Oh yeah, she knows now.
Yeah.
One of my cousins actually brought it over to me.
Oh, but no discussions.
No, we didn't talk about it.
Did you have I'm so curious. Did you have questions? I mean, did it leave things a little bit unanswered in some situations?
It actually kind of answered a lot of questions.
Kind of the opposite.
Yeah. Well, just why relationships were the way that they were. I never really knew. And, you know, why there was hard feelings, or people were not necessarily comfortable being around other people. It was it created a ton of drama, but it was all stuff that, you know, had been hidden. And is it horrible for our family and not for another? I mean, is it today's day and age surprising stuff? No, probably not. But at the time, everything's very, very private.
Right.
Very, very private.
Apologies. We're sitting here saying how we're not going to talk about our family secrets. And here we are.
Well, I'm not saying what they are. I'm just saying, and I don't know if it's generational or if it's cultural or what the situation is, but that was just how a lot of things were.
Yeah.
At least that's what I had experienced. But I know that there are, that's a very common family thing, that you run across, that there are things people choose to keep amongst themselves.
Yeah.
And there's reasons, like I said, for that. They're trying to protect, other family members, for example, or they don't want to have someone looked at poorly in the eyes of the next generation or the other thing too is people could have changed. I mean, 20, 30 years ago, they may be a very different person that they are now. So being judged on things that they had done in their past that they had repented for or had tried to, get forgiveness for or whatever, had happened maybe, but I wouldn't necessarily have known about that.
Right.
So a lot of it's just being protective, I think, over the generations to come. And frankly, all of those things are, part of human life. And I think like my mom's side of the family in particular is like very, very private that way. And don't share any information with anybody. I mean, like my mom thinks it's odd that I talk to my friends. Like she doesn't talk to anybody but my sister and I. Nobody.
Yeah.
Not even her own other relatives. So that's how I grew up. And I don't, that's not how I am really. I mean, not
I'm at all
putting all that business out there, but at the same time, it's like, shit happens. And my people that are in my inner circle probably know about the stuff that's happened in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's interesting too, just saying that. I know you before I dove in asking questions about this book, you touched on relationships and friendships, that this stuff can be woven into. And like you were just saying, your inner circle probably knows some of the family stuff.
Sure.
That you're more comfortable being able to talk about because it probably feels safer and less judgmental. I know I have things like that I'm able to share with only my inner people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not like you're out sharing all your business with everybody and their mother. It's totally not like that. But there are situations, and I would say the vast majority of them are related to family circumstances where they're kept quiet. They're kept hidden. It could be a number of things. It could be alcoholism. It could be, child abuse. It could be, just flat out abuse. It could be a lot of different things. It's usually something, gambling, that people are not wanting to shed any light on.
Right.
They want to kind of keep quiet and not have it affect how they're viewed in this world,
I can see that.
Have you shared that you recall, like, even as an adult, when you've needed to talk about something, but you didn't want to talk about it really because you were worried about it getting out? Have you shared things in your past where they have gotten out, or it's been shared, like, I swear I won't tell, and then someone shares it with someone else?
Right. No, I can't really think of any specific situations where that happened.
That you're aware of.
That I'm aware of.
Yeah.
True. That I'm aware of. It's interesting too with family dynamics. I feel like there's a lot of, I know in my family, you know that there's these things that are talked about. There's all this noise kind of in the background. I think most families that, has stuff like that, but then it's nothing that's out on the table.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, everybody, it's kind of like the big secret. Everybody knows, like the elephant in the room.
Yeah, the elephant in the room.
Yeah. Everybody knows something's going on, but they don't necessarily know what. They have to pretend like it's not. It's super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of the way it is. Like I can remember my, like a cousin that had a drug problem. Yeah. Nobody would talk about it. Yeah. Nobody would even bring up his name. No one would even acknowledge him. And it's like, he's still a part of the family and needed help, but it was just kind of one of those things where people just didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
And then he died from, drug overdose, and, nobody still talked about it. or just little things like that I'm just kind of, I really do think it's like the area, the time that we're raised in. And, it's very, very much a historical thing, how families choose to handle personal business,
Yeah.
Most of the time they want to keep everything very quiet. And I understand that and I respect that.
Well, and some things truly, some of these things, it's not the place to be out there for common knowledge.
Sure.
Just like for whoever and this, that, and the other. And we're just not going to talk about a lot of that with just anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's wherein these secrets come about for protection sometimes. Shame, protection, fear of judgment, all of those things. I was looking at some situations of secrecy, and I thought it might be kind of interesting to just like talk about some of these to see different perspectives on outcomes or how things are handled.
Sure, let's do it.
Some of them. So this first one is about a young woman who was raped when she was in college. She keeps this a secret from her family, friends, and the police. The secret stays with her for 10 years before she finally reveals it to her therapist. I think that probably happens quite a bit.
Well, it's like, can you imagine that poor woman?
Unfortunately.
Living with that? Because, I mean, for all you know, her dad's going to blame her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't know what that family dynamic is like. They could blame her for getting
dad
raped.
Or mom could
or
blame
mom.
her.
That's very true.
Yeah.
You've seen, and this doesn't obviously happen in my family, but where kids, they get pregnant, for whatever reason. Maybe they get raped, maybe they have a boyfriend, who knows.
Yeah.
And they get kicked out of the house and, basically shunned, nobody knows what's going on with them, but they're shunned from the family because of this.
Yeah.
Which just is so tragic and absolutely breaks my heart that something like that would happen, but it does.
Yeah.
It definitely does happen. Let's talk for a second about what do you think motivates the need for secrecy with people? It's a very general question, I know, but
it is a very general question. And I think outside of the things that we just mentioned, like the judgment, the shame, and things like that, I think some of that stems from, of course, I'm going to say religion, because that was such a big part of life for me.
Right.
And some of the decisions that I would make and how I felt as a result, it came from those deep religious practices that I was taught and that I grew up with that I thought was it. I think
it's like you thought you were going to go to hell because you did something wrong and didn't want to tell anybody.
Yes.
We just go to confession.
Yeah, we didn't. Well, we didn't really have that. We kind of did, but is different. So I don't know. What do you think?
I think there's things that motivate people. Usually it is, and I mean, I'm kind of speaking obviously from my own personal experience here too, but I think it's a survival technique that people might have, because the more someone knows about you, the more vulnerable you are.
Absolutely.
And so that's why.
Very good point.
Yeah. People are sharing information about themselves. The more they share, the more vulnerable they are. The more vulnerable they are, the more control someone might have. It might be something like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big component to it.
But, and like with the scenario that I just read, I think that's definitely a big part of a secret like that.
Yeah. I would say that, and just the idea of judgment and repercussions from whatever your secret is or the actions are. But a lot of it too is people want to be viewed in a certain light. And in order to be viewed in that certain light, they may have really kind of shoved a lot of stuff down and out of the public eye, and it's kind of like it's ignored.
You know what? It sounds like you're talking about social media right now.
Well, let's look at social media for
truly,
God's sake.
Like the things you were just saying, it's like we want people to see it in a good light, and it's rare that we put it we don't put the shit out there on our feed for social media. We want everything. We want the highlights. We want the good stuff. to be presented.
Well, and think about that. I mean, I think of a couple of circumstances just over the last couple of years where people I knew had posted, they were in a real bad place, very dark place, going through whatever they were going through, and they were posting about it. And I just don't think that's the arena for it.
Right.
I mean, I think that
definitely not the arena for it.
Yeah. When you look at social media as just an example, it's like, really, that is kind of the timeline of your history of events. I mean, that's why a lot of the time I'll put things there, because I know that I won't lose them. Pictures, whatever the case may be. And I can go back and look and see things from years ago or whatever. That's kind of a lot of my incentive for the things that I'll post. But I'm not going to necessarily be a downer and post things that are, I would never post stuff that's like detrimental to my kids or my family or anything like that, because it's just not the place for it.
Yeah, well, it's just interesting, the parallel. Do you know what I'm saying? Just as in life, it's not like you're going to be in a social circle in real life and start talking about all the deets and the shit that's going on and what's
But then you see people on social media.
Yeah, you do.
That is their platform for everything. Like there's people that you literally can tell when they wake up in the morning and when they go to bed at night.
Yeah.
And everything that's happening in between, they're like an open book to the point of nauseum, in my opinion. I'm just like, dude, I don't need to see all of that.
Right.
I don't care, and I'm happy that you're putting things on your story or doing whatever it is you need to do. But it's like, really, I don't need to see what kind of food you're eating, I don't need to see your bubble tea or whatever. I just don't care. It's I don't know, like they have nothing else to put on there or something. But anyway, that is kind of a whole nother topic. But going back to the whole idea of secrets, I think everybody keeps them. There are some that we're going to go to your grave with, others maybe not so much. And it's kind of one of those things where, you decide what you're comfortable sharing and what you're not comfortable sharing, and know that anytime you're sharing something, there is a risk of it being shared with other people.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter.
No matter what, there's always a risk.
Yeah. Like
if it's shared.
Like, for example, writing it down. Like I have, like when I was a kid, I had my secret, whatever, right? My diary, my secret diary. I was actually I love to write, right? Yeah. So I would write a lot and I would write my feelings, but I never, ever, ever would write the details that were going on in my head. Like the details of what I was really thinking, because the fear I had of someone getting their hands on that and using that information, or I would just be downright humiliated if someone read my deepest, darkest thoughts.
And then there's me. I can share this. I'm total opposite of you. When I was a junior in high school, I lied to my parents and I told them that I was going to go to a haunted house when I knew darn well that me and my friends were going to go see Halloween, an R-rated movie,
I remember this story.
which I was not allowed to do. Right. So in school on Monday, I write everything down on a piece of paper to my friend, because we used to write notes back in the day, no texting. Wrote it all down. Mommy and Daddy dear thought I was going to do this, but we went here and did this. La, la, la. I told the whole story. And then guess who cleaned my room and found the note? My mom.
I mean, but in the big scope
mortified.
of things, you basically lied and went to a movie you weren't supposed to go to. It's not
right.
It's not like you're being 15 and having sex unprotected with some guy, right?
I know.
Can you imagine if you'd written that down?
It felt the same though to me. That's yeah.
I mean, I got to the point where I remember I would write things in code. Like we had my neighbor who was one of my little best friends, we had like a code that we used for writing. So we were the only ones that knew the code. Well, theoretically, I guess.
Right.
But if I wrote anything down of my deep, dark secrets, it was in the code. So nobody could read it.
Yeah.
But I was kind of boy crazy. So I'm sure a lot of it was about boys and, different boys that I had a crush on, or who knows. It was pretty innocent in the big scope of things, probably. But yeah. And here's the funny part. I have no idea where those journals are.
Oh,
to this day, I don't know. I mean, I could have thrown them away.
Yeah.
They could be. I don't think I have them. I mean, now Angie's going to listen to this and go searching through all this stuff.
Let me find those journals.
Yeah, let me find those journals. She won't be able to read them.
Family entertainment.
I know.
Here's another one.
Mm-hmm.
Another situation of secrecy.
Okay.
A father of young children has a dark secret known to no one but his wife. He wears women's underwear under his clothes. He hides this when he is out of the house, but the underwear shows when he is at home. He and his wife deny the fact that everyone in the family probably suspects what he is doing.
So he's a cross-dresser.
Well, just women's underwear.
Well, I mean,
obviously some kind of fetish that he enjoys. Wife is obviously aware of it. Doesn't do it outwardly out of the house, but in the house he does. So keep in mind, he's a father of young children. So I guess part of what we're talking about here too is the repercussions of what secrets can do. So, the kids seeing this in the home, then what are the outreaching and outlying effects that this might have on them? If it's a secret, just him and the wife, and it's not something that is open and talked about among the family.
Well, I would think, so that example that you're giving, I don't think it really needs to be the kid's business. I mean, I think it's their business, the parents.
I understand that, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if I have two small children at home and dad's in the recliner watching, golf, and he's
wearing mom's thong.
Well, yeah, and the women's underwear is obviously, it's like you see guys' underwear. I'm sure they probably notice something in the family dynamics of the home. So then, what what is that long-reaching effect on the kids? If there is any, I don't know. I'm just, talking about
I'm just
the
going to say
situation.
that, first of all, he probably should put some shorts on.
Well, yeah.
I know, but he really needs to put something on. I mean, it's like you shouldn't
I'm not saying he's walking around and who knows, like we're far reaching now outside of what this says.
Think about it in your own life. It's like I wouldn't want my husband walking around in his underwear. I mean, maybe if it was boxers, but not like tighty whities. I think that would be weird.
Really?
Yeah. Well, like walking around with the kids around.
Well, just like walking around. Think about, this is kind of funny, but I just think about back in the day, I had 4 boys. Obviously, if I had a girl, it would probably be different, but I had 4 boys and their dad would walk out to the kitchen in his underwear and maybe get a bowl of cereal or whatever and do whatever. That wasn't.
I guess we just never really did that.
That wasn't. I'm not saying it was common, but it wouldn't be weird if their dad went out to the kitchen in his underwear and got something to drink or eat and go back to bed.
Now, what if Michelle, the mom, wore her bra and panties out to get a bowl of cereal? Would that be weird?
Probably, because I have boys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like if it was 4 girls, I mean, I don't know that I would do that either, but
I can't even imagine. It's pretty funny. My dad would say, that's so uncouth. My dad in his little pajamas, that you have. That's so uncouth kind of a thing. Yeah. But, we had women, just my daughter, my sister and myself, my brother, but he was much older. But yeah, it was kind of super proper, almost ridiculously proper sometimes.
Yeah. So anyways... that's
okay. Just something to think about, though.
These are just thought-provoking situations, though, that are real ones. These
so
were
let's just say
from real situations.
In that scenario, that those kids are 9-10 years old and happen to mention it to their friends.
Yeah,
but they don't know it's a secret,
right? That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. The outreaching effects and the repercussions of things that might, for the children that might stem from this.
Right.
Like you just said, in that very situation. Because kids,
they think it's normal.
Regardless of the situation, if they're, living in a home, where their dad's always doing that or whatever it is, a messy house, laundry, whatever it is, until they go over to other people's houses to see that it's different. Doesn't mean it's normal or not normal, but that there's things that are different.
Right.
Then they start forming their own opinions, to your point, when they get 9-10 years old and, start having a little bit of a voice and asking questions.
Right. Or feeling uncomfortable because what they see is different outside of their house. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
What, do you have another example?
I do. A woman knows she is adopted, but her parents failed to tell her that her biological mother is alive and has made inquiries about her because she wanted to meet her.
Dangerous, dangerous, dangerous secret.
Yeah.
That
the
would
whole
be.
adoption.
Well, I mean, I'm not adopted.
Right. Me
But
neither.
I'm trying to think about if I was an adopted kid, how I would feel. And I would feel like I'd been betrayed. I think I would, because I wasn't, maybe when I got a little older, it would be different. But when I was younger, I understand, that's maybe you have to be at age appropriate to discuss some of these things, unless it's open, unless it's an open conversation from the onset. But you have to ask yourself in that scenario what the motivation of those parents is. Are the parents insecure about this kid finding out more about their family, or are they protecting them? There's a big difference.
Yeah.
And I think as a child gets to be of adult age, they have the right to make their own decision about what they want to do and how they want to pursue something. And, the parent needs, in my opinion, to give them the latitude to be able to do that and support them.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with you as a parent.
Right.
Raising them, as non-biological children, they're still your children. So, yeah, I think that would be super dangerous and definitely affect the relationship that a parent might have with their kid.
Yeah. Well, especially like in this scenario, the biological mother had made inquiries because she wanted to meet her. And then
she
the
got
parents kept that from her.
Yeah.
And didn't let that be her decision. Yeah, that would be
So I was telling you when we were kind of talking about preparing for this episode about this program that I had watched. And a lot of the things that we're talking about here, this family was wrought with secrets in this program. But the mom passes away, and the dad had apparently died when the girls were younger, right? There's 2 girls. And so they never spoke of the dad really because he wasn't around. They didn't know him. And the mom kicks out the daughter. One daughter, not kicks her out, but sends her to live with a distant relative when she's like 12 because she's gay and she doesn't want her there. And so this daughter is raised in some other household in a completely different environment. And then when her mom dies, she comes back to the place where was her childhood home and comes to find out that her mom was gay and was married, but never told them, right?
Yeah.
So as this program is going on, they come to find out that the dad really wasn't dead, that mom had lied to them their entire life, really,
Wow.
and had said that he was dead because he had been very physically abusive with her and she had divorced him, and she hadn't divorced him. He had left, and I don't know if he went to jail or what the situation was, but we're talking 20 years later, to some 20 some odd years later, the daughters find out that he's alive and, go seek him out. And as it turns out, he's now a pastor, he's quote, turned his life around. But the moment he finds out that one of the daughters is gay also, he freaks out and does some kind of like religious ceremony around her to get her to not be gay anymore.
Wow.
Just crazy. Okay, this is kind of a crazy story, but but this is like an example of just some of the web of lies that had been woven by this woman, with her children. And literally, they are adults now and they have no idea really who they are, what's true and what's not true. And whatever reason the mom had for lying to them, she literally lied to them for years and years and years, whether it was to protect them or to protect her. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter. It's like they're adults now and they had to find out on their own that their mom was gay. Not that they cared, but their mom was gay, had kicked one of them out and judged her because she was a kid and she was gay. And then, and then told them that their dad, this woman, I'm just like, this woman was fucked up.
Yeah.
And then she dies,
right?
And, leaves them to figure it all out on their own. I'm like, man, I'm glad I didn't come up from a family like that.
I mean, I know it was just a show, but then these are really situations that are out there, things like this.
Yeah.
And you got to then think about the generational things that, like this woman, I wonder what kind of home life she had when she was growing up.
Yeah.
And what that all looks like,
But she has these now young adults that are, maybe 30, 30, 28, 30, right around, and they are broken. They are broken individuals because they have lived on, it's kind of like growing up on quicksand, but you didn't know it.
Yeah.
It's like, your whole world underneath
having the rug pulled out from
yeah,
underneath.
your whole world is not stable, but you didn't really know it to the degree that it was growing up. You just got lucky and didn't know, I guess. Oh my God, that would be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
That would be horrible. I would be extremely resentful of my parent that did something like that and didn't give me the opportunity to know the truth.
Right. That's tough stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Here's one for you.
Okay.
A woman has alternated between two men who she dated for many years. The man she finally married and the former boyfriend who she couldn't give up. Although the two men know each other, the husband is unaware that his wife meets the other man at least twice a week. She cannot bear the thought of giving up either man.
She's being a hoe.
That's just shitty.
That's really shitty.
Like capital S, shitty.
That's an incredibly
selfish woman.
Very selfish, deceitful, unfair. I mean, just like the litany of things that are wrong with that.
Yeah.
But that is actually probably more common, than we think, or you see where
for men or women.
Men or women.
Yeah.
You just honestly see it more with men, or maybe just hear about it more with men. But like men having more than one family.
Yeah.
You've read the book, The Pilot's Wife.
Mm-mm.
It's a woman who's a pilot's wife, and he dies, and she comes to find out he has a completely other family in another country.
Wow.
But he's gone on his quote trips. Mm-hmm. He's got another kid. He's got all this. She had no idea. Can you imagine?
One probably didn't know either.
Nope, she didn't know either.
Wow.
I don't think she did. So
what's the matter with people?
I don't know. They want their cake and eat it too. Or they want to be able to have everything the way they want it, I guess. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I couldn't live with myself.
Well, and so some of these scenarios that we're just talking about too, and we'll talk about some of this in a little bit, but the consequences of these types of secret keeping is so stressful. It's got to be so stressful and fills you, I'm sure, your soul with worry and heartache and all of the things which are going to affect you mentally, physically, emotionally. All of those things is just, I don't know. It takes its toll, definitely, when these secrets are filling our life.
Well, it becomes where you have no delineation between reality and...
There's a new word, delineation. What is that? School me.
Seriously?
Yes.
No separation between... no identifying separation between, one thing and another. So the blurred lines, like we've talked about before. It's like, what's real, what's not real? Was that conversation based on bullshit, or was it sincere from the heart? I mean, you start questioning everything around you when you feel like people aren't sincere. And frankly, I mean, there's the whole ethical argument about that, but I think more moral. It's like morally, I just, there's reasons why people do the things that they do. And I understand that. Do I agree with all of it? No. I mean, some things I think are appropriate to be kept to your side. I just absolutely feel like that. But there's others that you're doing, yourself a disservice because things could eat you up inside. And maybe the people that are impacted a disservice as well.
Right.
So
here's another one. 2 sons are being raised by their mother after she divorced their father. A curtain of secrecy is kept by the mother about the boys so that the boys never learn much about their father or his family. Kind of like the story you were just talking about. Later in life, the older of the boys, now men, meet the father and his family, never telling his younger brother or his mother. So one of the sons later, just on his own meets father, meets family, but then keeps that secret from the mother and the brother.
I can understand why he'd keep that secret. I mean, because obviously... the mom didn't want them to know, and he's curious. He's curious, and he has a right to be curious.
Yeah.
I mean, could it be more hurtful to him? Probably. If he's going and now he's meeting his dad, who has a whole nother family, basically. Sometimes curiosity is going to get the best of somebody, but not necessarily wanting to bring your sibling into it, because what if it's a train wreck?
Right. That's true. That's true.
That's what I'm thinking. When you look at toxic problems, or problems that create toxicity, in relationships in general. And where families and things are concerned, many of those toxic issues are created by secrecy and by lies or lack of truth, meaning lying by omission.
Mm-hmm.
They're lying by not saying anything. They just keep it to themselves.
Right.
They're not outwardly lying. They're just holding it in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what creates, I think, a lot of the toxic, honestly, the relationships that you care about are the only ones that really matter, right?
True. Like, we're not going to give a shit. Some people, like, if they're keeping secrets or no secrets, because it doesn't affect us, right? And it's those close personal relationships, family relationships, really, that matter and that are going to impact us. I think it's important to stress, however, that sometimes it's better, I think, not to reveal a secret if it's going to cause unnecessary damage with no benefit.
Exactly.
Truly.
Betrayal is a very difficult thing to get over, because when you think about that word trust, it's like sharing information with someone you quote trust, and that trust is broken. That is a really hard thing to come back from.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of the times when secrets are kept, it's to preserve, and I keep going back to family, it's kind of to preserve family. And it's like, when you think about, nobody's perfect. No family is perfect. No person is perfect. Shit happens, Does everybody need to know about it? No. But it's like, if it came up like within a family for a kid to, at the appropriate age to learn about something, I don't see any reason why that child has to be kept in the dark.
Right.
Or, let's say you marry into a family who's got family secrets. You might not know what all those family secrets are, but they exist. And those, kind of dissecting those could possibly give you a better understanding of your partner.
Sure. That's very true.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, the unnecessary damage with no benefit, there's this one more scenario I want to touch on, just because it's a little different than some of the others that we were talking about.
Okay.
It just brings up a wife who has good reason to believe their family is financially secure because her husband is a very successful businessman. What she does not know is that he has a gambling addiction, and they are on the verge of bankruptcy because of the enormous gambling debts he has accumulated.
And she has no clue. That is a big, big
one.
That's a big one, because it's affecting the whole family.
Right.
And he obviously has a sickness.
Yep.
The addiction is taking over every aspect of his life. But it's sad to say, but I know that this kind of stuff really does happen.
Yeah.
But, I feel like today, in the modern day, not knowing some of those things is putting way too much trust in another person without knowing. Even if they're your partner, it's like you need to be kind of on the same page.
Yeah.
So there's a whole other set of issues that have probably happened prior to that secret being kept. And so that goes back to, in my opinion, the level of intimacy and conversations. Say, for example, with your partner, there may not be any. There's no conversations to begin with, but the level of vulnerability that goes along with being intimate and having those really tough conversations isn't there. It doesn't exist.
Right.
So as a result, just people go about their day and they're kind of oblivious. I would say oblivious. Maybe that's not the right word. They're indifferent or distracted. They're indifferent to the circumstances that are going on around them. They just are going about their day. They're existing, they're not sharing the everything's very high level. And you see that with people a lot,
Ignorance is bliss.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see it with women who have husbands that are cheating, or vice versa, men who have wives that are cheating, whether it be emotional cheating or physical cheating or whatever, sometimes not knowing or ignoring the signs and symptoms, which we've all been accustomed to, is easier than dealing with the truth.
Well, and it's interesting because there was a time in my life when circumstances were such, and back to what you pointed out earlier, circumstances for me, it was a survival mechanism to say to myself, you know what? I can't control the actions of this other person. If they're going to choose to be distrustful, if they're going to choose to if they're going to choose, I kept pushing it on, to to it being out of my control, that it was their decisions that they were making, even though they would affect me. And I knew that part of it, the survival mechanism was kicking in to where I would just continue to move forward and tell myself I don't have control over the decisions that this person is making. And it made it easier for me to get through daily life.
But in that regard, it's like you're getting through daily life, but it's like you've given all your power away.
Oh, I know, but that's what I'm saying. I think to the point you made earlier, it's definitely, a survival mode.
And I think if that continues, then that becomes you are responsible, because you're absolutely right. You can't control what other people do or what other people say. I mean, you can guide, you can have influence, I suppose, but you really, at the end of the day, do not have the level of control you have with yourself. So there comes a time when they need to be held accountable, maybe for the decisions that they're making. And that in turn means that you might do something different, like leave, like divorce their ass, in that case. So that, going back to secrets and lies, I think you have to be comfortable with whatever is going on in your own head. And there are going to be things, I can think of things that, this is going back a long ways, but I remember sharing something that I was distraught about when I was in my early mid-20s. It's funny how I remember this long ago. And I was distraught about, needed a friend, and come to find out that information was shared with a bunch of other people. And I learned from that circumstance that I would never, ever share something again that I didn't want other people to know with that person.
Yeah.
And, many, many, many years have passed, and I still hold true to that. Because I know that if something is shared, it might get shared with someone else. It doesn't mean that I don't love that person any more than anybody else. I just know that I've got a boundary there that I will not cross anymore.
Yeah.
And I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
So there are people like that in our lives where we think we can trust them. We think that they've got our back, and they really don't.
Right.
And I think knowing who those people are and who you can trust and confide in and who you can't is a very important thing to understand.
There's so many things. I know we've started using the word trust here just in the last little bit, and it has made me think, as we're talking about this, how much that coincides with all of this, the trust part.
That's probably the biggest word when it comes to secrets.
Yeah.
When it comes to holding things in, it's like, if you can't trust, you can really only trust yourself in this case. You maybe don't want to provide information or share information with someone that can't be kept, because you have no control over it at that point.
I looked at what the top 10 motivators for secrecy are. And some of them are things that in these scenarios that we talked about, but divorce. And these are things that people feel ashamed of, feel judgment, all those things that we were talking about earlier, which then leads to keeping the secret or, holding things back. So divorce, mental illness in families, rape.
You mean go back to mental illness, like mental illness, someone has a mental illness and they're like put away somewhere?
Put away, or if, people, I know, I actually had a friend when I was in high school. Her mom was a little mental. She was home. She was raising her daughters, but I knew that because I experienced personal relationship with this person and was in their home and things like that. So I knew that, but a lot of what I saw that my friend dealt with on a daily basis didn't really get seen on the outside of the home.
Right.
So I think something like that.
Okay. I was thinking about family secrets, when you've got someone who has a mental health issue, or say you have someone who's a criminal.
Yeah.
Or something like that nobody talks, pretends like they don't exist.
Could be that too.
The mental health thing too. Like back in the day, people would put, the relatives that had Down syndrome even, or mental health issues of any kind, and they would put them in
an insane asylum.
Yeah, or whatever you call them.
Asylum of some kind.
Yeah, they put them in an institution.
Yeah.
And they would just leave them there because they were different.
Yeah.
Which is just weird. But hey, that is, and then not tell anybody.
Yeah.
What else?
Women with sexual issues like STDs, things like that.
Okay.
I think for women, it's a little for whatever reason, there's more stigmatism around that than there is for men. I'm not saying it's not, but
well, it lends to all of the other things we've talked about with women's
we're hoes.
And sex. And you're such a hoe, Michelle.
Yeah. Things like that. Adoption.
Okay.
Kind of like we talked about alcoholism or drug addiction. Definitely. Job loss.
Yeah.
I see that. I actually dealt with that. Like when my ex-husband like lost a job or whatever, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't tell
humiliated.
my family. Yeah.
They're embarrassed, you know, or they don't want anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Extramarital affairs, homosexuality, and gambling.
Yeah.
So those are the top 10.
Are they in that order? Or is it just...
not necessarily in that order. These are just like 10 of the more talked about.
I think if you had to pick like the top 2, what would they be in your opinion?
Probably homosexuality and extramarital affairs.
Those are the 2 I would think. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The homosexuality one, I think, is huge, especially depending upon where someone grows up.
Yeah.
You know, or the kind of environment that they're raised in, that they just keep that stuff to themselves.
Yeah.
I can think of one person off the top of my head who had never shared all in his, up until his adult years. Like, he's probably older than me, but everybody knew.
Yeah.
But, you know, the mom died. And so now, I don't know, they can be more open about it or something.
Oh, yeah.
Because the mom wouldn't certainly acknowledge it. Yeah, it's definitely stuff like that.
So sad.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I would never be that way with my kids, but that's just
me. And those along with all of those things that I just mentioned, those top reasons for secrecy, then there's the reason for what people believe the consequences will be, what the outcome is. So, you know, people, like being the judgment, the disgust or anger,
ostracized,
you know, being ostracized. Yeah. Just all of those different repercussions that we feel are going to happen if we come out with whatever it is.
So it's not living your authentic life in that scenario. Well, Michelle, I don't have any secrets to share with you today.
Well, you know.
But I know if I did, that you would keep them to yourself.
I would keep them to myself.
I know.
Isn't it Alicia Keys that sings that song, Your Secrets Are Safe With Me?
But then she sings about it. So really, they're not.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Okay, well, we are on the socials, right?
We're on the socials. We are, and we're out there on YouTube as well.
Yeah, I've been uploading all our episodes.
Yeah, Julie's been a busy little bee.
We actually have on our YouTube, we've been getting a lot of hits on there, I've noticed, since I've been putting them up. So I don't know where those are coming from because I haven't been advertising it, but I'm actually having a lot of fun with it because we had made a video. You had put together a video of a bunch of different pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I've been using that for a part of it. And then, you know, so it's the audio version.
Yeah.
But there is some video on there that I've been adding to all of the episodes. So we are available there. You can listen to it there too.
Yeah. Spotify, all the things.
All the things.
So wherever you want to listen to your podcast, your favorite platform, we're there.
Yeah. And we thank you for tuning in and listening today. And we will have definitely another topic coming to you next week.
Yeah. Download the episodes, people.
Yeah.
Download, save for later. And in the meantime, we appreciate all of our listeners and we won't keep any secrets from any of you.
Lies.
Yeah, lies.
That's such a lie.
Sex, lies, and videotape.
You have a sex tape?
No.
Joking.
Just see how those, it's like that telephone game.
Yeah.
You're going to start rumors now.
I know. Okay, well, on that note, we're going to go record Michelle's videotape.
No, we're not. All right, everybody.
Have a good one.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.